The real turning point was actually understanding what poverty is. So I thought I was poor as a kid, and I was in relative terms, but like I wasn't really. So when I was in Berlin, I traveled a bit. I went to Asia for a month, 2007, and I saw what poverty is.
And you hated it.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah.
And it really made me reevaluate, like, well, I wasn't really very poor at all, was I? And, when you look at income data over time, I realized that, like, I was actually amongst the wealthiest people ever to have existed. Even though, in relative terms, compared to my peers in Los Angeles, I was not, I was at the very bottom of the income spectrum.
Yeah.
But if you like zoom out to the world, it's like way at the top. And if you zoom out even further and look over time, I was very lucky to, be born when I was where I was.
That trip happened after you sold your business?
No, before.
Before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I took a month off. Business was running well. Sold the business at the end of 2008. Went on this trip in 2007 and I saw it. I was like, wow.
So by the time you became wealthy yourself, you already had this idea.
Yes. I was like,
that explains why it took you so relatively short period of time to make such a huge jump into this desire to serve other people, whoever they are, wherever they are, and not just a small group of people you could relate to.
Yeah, because I didn't relate to the culture in Southeast Asia. I mean, I couldn't, but I saw that these were people, and they were living hard lives, their whole lives. And kids were dying, and there was poverty and mosquitoes and mosquito-borne disease, and it was harrowing. I mean, parts of this trip were really fun because I had to sort of offset I really felt the...
You felt compassion.
Yeah,
into you.
like a lot of it.
Yeah.
It was hard to witness because I was this I hadn't had this exit yet, but still in relative terms, this wealthy white person going and touring, Cambodia and Laos and Vietnam and in Thailand. It was like, wow, these people really have it much worse than I ever did.
Yeah.
And, but does it have to be this way?
Yeah. So in a way, if we talk to someone who just exited their business and they theoretically want to have a lot of impact, this is quite a common situation, but they don't really feel it deep in their heart. They're not really motivated. Would you say, go to these poor countries, experience them, and see if that triggers your compassion? Would that be a practical advice to my community?
It's a good and challenging question, and I don't know. It was helpful for me, but I'm not sure that I'd recommend it necessarily. I mean, because it triggers a really emotional response, and that emotional response tends to lead people to make decisions that aren't calculated or considered. So these days, I do something different. My business now helps entrepreneurs figure out how to use their resources to affect the world positively. And we try to discourage poverty tourism, which is, I think, often people have a desire to go see what the rest of the world is like. But with the lens of I have money and I want to use that money to affect the world, I guess maybe, I was just going to travel and see more because I hadn't really done that.
Yeah.
And as part of that experience, I saw this poverty and that really affected me. But, most of the people who have exits now have traveled, seen the world, have context in a way that I didn't because I was very sheltered.
Yeah. My problem with poverty tourism is that some people just feel good about themselves when they...
on to see it.
Yeah. And that is a problem. But I like to think that people who already have so much experience as exited founders and usually already have quite developed compassion, because I think to succeed in a business, we actually have to have compassion for our customers, for our employees. If you don't, you may have a business, but it probably will never be really successful. So I find that lots of exited founders already have lots of kindness and compassion and the desire to give.
Yeah.
So for them, traveling may make a lot of sense because they may have experience like you that seeds of compassion will grow when they expand their horizon.
Yeah, I guess to the extent that it actually traveling allows someone to have more compassion and decide that they want to give, I guess more power to them. But the approach that I take now with Founders Pledge is different than that. We try to approach the question of like, how